everyone, it's Nancy, your favorite innkeeper from Old Square Inn in Mount Joy, Pennsylvania, in beautiful Lancaster County. Thank you for joining me today. It is tomato pie day. Have you ever had tomato pie? First time I tasted it was at this little restaurant in Lidditz called Tomato Pie Cafe. And you beg them for their recipe, but they're not going to give that up. So finally found one that works and tastes just like theirs. Hi, thanks for joining us, Joe. Good to have you here. Joan, good to have you here today. If you're just joining us, drop your name in the comments. Tell us where you're from. Send us some love. And we're going to get started. All right, July is really tomato month. So when your tomatoes start hitting, man, you don't know what to do with them, this is the perfect thing. And isn't any tomato from a garden more delicious than any tomato at a store? Totally. All right, first thing we're going to start with would be 4 tomatoes. And again, I'm going to make half a recipe, so you're going to see me using half ingredients. The tomatoes I have are plum tomatoes. When you make yours, use whatever you have from your garden. If you're buying them at a farm stand, if you could buy those really good like beefsteak tomatoes, those are even better because they're like really meaty. All right, when you start with your tomatoes, you have to have these tomatoes peeled. I'm going to show you a real easy way to do that. Take your tomato and you're just going to slice an X in the bottom of it. And I'm going to throw this tomato into a pot of boiling water. I'm going to put that in there for about 1 minute. I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute. We're not trying to cook it. All we want to do is kind of blanch it. There we go. And then we're going to plunge it into cold water, and that's going to stop the cooking. And you're going to see how that skin peels right off of there. It's pretty amazing, pretty cool trick. Once you get your tomatoes and get them sliced, you're going to lay them on a paper towel and let everything drain off of them. Sprinkle them with a little bit of salt. That draws the water out of everything. They are going to be delicious. We have about another 30 minutes on that tomato in that boiling water. Let's see what it's doing. Actually, when it's in here, you could even see the tomato start to split. That's the way you know, yep, there it is. Probably that one's ready already. Then just pull that out with a slotted spoon and put it into a bowl of ice water. Okay, here we go. The ice water stops the cooking, and then you're going to be able to just pick this up. Oh, there's my minute. And look at this. Comes right off. I know, so crazy, right? You don't have to do anything else to it. Try to peel it, or that's it. Perfect. Okay, so I have this tomato, and I'm going to slice this maybe in about 1/4 inch thick slices. A little bit of peel on it yet. There we go. And then, like I said, you're going to have to let these tomatoes drain, let the water come out of them for at least 10 minutes. Now, if you look at my tomatoes, they're not very meaty. They have a lot of those seeds in them there. So I'm just going to get the seeds out of that and place it on a paper towel. I'll show you what I have done here already. These are the tomatoes that I had ready. Put them on a paper towel, let the water kind of drain out of them. So that's what I would do with these and put them on that. All right, so that'll be for our next tomato pie next time. Now, the other thing we need to do is get the crust ready. Now, the first time I made tomato pie, it was like the most disastrously disgusting thing I ever made. And I figured out why. Because you have to blind bake the crust. That means you're going to pre-bake the crust in the oven. And if you are not a crust making person, this is what you're going to get. This Pillsbury pie crust. These are the very best things ever. They taste like homemade. Don't get the store brand. You want to get this. And right on the side of the box, it's going to show you how to give you instructions to blind bake this crust. So this is what you do. You're going to get your crust and put it in a dish, and then I like to flute mine inside of the pan instead of outside of the pan. And then you are going to take peas or beans or rice, or they even have special like marbles that you can put in there. You're going to put this inside of the crust, bake it this way for maybe about 8 minutes. What this does is keep this bottom crust from puffing up, because if you would just leave it in the oven like that, this whole thing would puff up. So probably after about 8 or 10 minutes, you're going to poke some holes in the bottom and finish baking this off. This one's probably done a little bit more than I would have, but this is going to work really great. And then when you put the tomatoes in here, it's just all delicious and the crust is ready to go. All right, set that aside and let's get some of our herbs chopped, because we're going to use that also. So tomato pie calls for basil. You can't make tomato pie without basil. And I know if you have a garden, and even if you don't, basil is like all over the place now. So this recipe calls for about 10 basil leaves. I really like basil, so I'm not going to worry about having too much basil in there. Smell these leaves. I know, they smell so good. This is one of my favorite herbs from the garden. I also love rosemary, also love thyme. Those are my very favorites. Okay, so to make this a little bit easier to chop, I have all of my basil leaves stacked up. And then I'm just going to chop them this way first, and then chop them across this way. Now, here's the thing that I add to my tomato pie, and this is the one I think they put in the tomato pie that I really liked. I'm putting in thyme. I have fresh thyme because I love that from my garden. You could use dried thyme if you want to. You could even use dried basil if you want to. And when you're doing basil, you're going to use about 2 tablespoons of fresh, finely chopped basil would equal about 1 tablespoon dry. So it's about half and half. Just run the knife through that a little bit. Oh, this is smelling so good already. One more little chop with that. Such a great taste. And really, what tastes better than tomatoes with basil? Maybe tomatoes with basil and bacon? Yeah, but bacon makes everything taste better, right? All right, so I have fresh thyme. And to take this off the stem, I'm just going to pull it off like that. And I can put it in like that. I can chop it up if I want to. I'm just going to put it in with the whole leaves like that. Pull it right off the stem. I saw an advertisement for, it was called, I don't know, like an herb picker or herb stripper. And it was basically a little piece of plastic with a hole in it, and you would stick your herb in it and pull it against the hole. I just used my fingernails to pull that off like that. Oh, that smells so good. Don't you think? So delicious. I have one more thing I'm going to put in this also, and that is going to be spring onions, those green onions. Yeah, we had just used that in the Thai dressing. There we go. All right. Oh, if you could be in this kitchen and smell this, you would say, how could there be so many good things on this earth for us to smell and taste? Because this is a killer, I'm telling you what. All right, got that chopped. Let me move my little bit of basil out of the way. I have some spring onions. And this is what I had left, so this is what I'm going to use. The recipe calls for about a half a cup. Since I'm going half, I would want about a quarter cup. I don't have a quarter cup, so this is what I'll do. Can't worry about it. But you can't leave out the basil, okay? All right, so I have all my herbs ready here. Look at that. Oh my gosh, if you could, somebody totally needs to invent smell-o-vision. All right, Now we're going to get to the topping part. So how this works is you're going to put the tomatoes in the bottom of the pre-baked pie crust. Then you're going to layer the herbs on top, and then you're going to put the topping on that. And here's what we put in. It's going to be 1 cup of mayonnaise. It's going to be 1 cup of sour cream. We're going to mix those together, and then 1 cup of cheddar, 1 cup of mozzarella, and we'll mix it all up. Now remember, I'm doing half, so I'm just going to be putting a half a cup in mine. You remember this handy little, love this gadget. This is the best thing ever. So I have it set at 1 cup right here, and then I just fill this up and put it out into the bowl. What could be easier than that? Not too much, right? All right, now if you are not a mayonnaise person, go a little bit heavier on the sour cream, but the mayonnaise gives it that just creaminess and taste, and it's so delicious. All right, let me get the sour cream out here. I'm going to fill up the rest of that cup. Looks like I have just about enough to do that. Now, I like to go slightly under the 2 cups of like sour cream mayonnaise that they have, but that's my preference. Anytime I make a recipe, I always make it the way they say first, unless it has cilantro in, then I leave the cilantro out because who likes that? Some people, not me. But always make it the way they show you the first time, and then add your, there we go, psh, how easy was that? Great gadget. And the best thing about this gadget is it comes entirely apart, and you just stick it in the dishwasher. All right, so you would be using 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to use a half a cup. And in there. Who's got a tomato garden? Anybody out there? I know that Joan's got tomatoes going already. Yep, okay, there's a half cup of that. She's got her garden, she had her garden going early. And Joan had given me some raspberry transplants. I know that raspberries come up kind of a short season, but they should have another little growth spurt. I'm hoping that the ones I transplanted come up. But that's one of my favorite fruits, raspberries. Love those. Love watermelon. You know those personal size watermelons? Psst, that's not a personal size. That's like a baby size. Just give me a real watermelon. Okay, so I have the mayonnaise, the sour cream, the cheddar cheese, and the mozzarella cheese. Just going to mix all of this up. And this, then on top of this, we're going to put some Parmesan cheese, shredded Parmesan cheese. Oh, this is going to be so good. I know that looks like a lot, right? But you know, you have that great butteriness of the crust, and you have the richness of this topping, and the acidity of the tomatoes. So good. All right, so let's start to assemble this. Here's my pie crust. Let's bring on the tomatoes. Just going to lay them in the bottom of the pan. Now, I made one of these yesterday. We had guests for breakfast. Wanted to make sure I get their breakfast out first, so I had one of these done yesterday. That's for Brenda and Judy, and I think I'm probably going to send them home with my sample. Who doesn't like tomato pie, really? Okay, and these are looking good. So I'm just going to layer everything on top of this. Now, if you have a deeper pie crust, all the better. When I put the topping on, it's probably going to cover, there we go, my pie crust, and I'm okay with that. Oh, that's my new one. Doesn't that look good already? I know, you could smell these tomatoes. They smell so good. Here, get in there. Got one more of you to put in there. Ooh, perfect. Get that out of the way. Look at that. Look at that. It's going to be so delicious. Okay, now this topping goes right on top of this pie. Oh no, I gotta put the herbs on first. Thanks for stopping me. Okay, so this is the basil, and it is the thyme, And it's going to be the green onion on top of this. It's going to be so good. And you know what? I really like the thyme on here, so I have some dried thyme. I have lots of thyme. I know, so funny. So thyme leaves like this. Oh, smell that. Sprinkle a little bit more on top because I like that flavor with it. And you know what? If you don't have fresh basil, like I said, but I hope you do in your garden somewhere, get some Penzeys sweet basil. It's delicious. All right, so this goes on top. All of this cheese. It makes this creamy layer on top. Get on there. Yummy. I know, looks so good. And I don't care if that covers my crust because my crust is already nice and brown. Spread that on top. Got a little more in there. Okay, we don't want to waste any of this delicious cheesy goodness. All right, now to make it even better, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some of this Parmesan cheese. I think the recipe calls for about a half a cup, so I'm going to use about a quarter of a cup and sprinkle the Parmesan cheese on top of this. And what this does is make it like really crisp and delicious. I think I need a little more Parmesan cheese on top of that. What do you think? I think a little, right? This is such a delicious breakfast thing. Not even breakfast, but like a good little lunch or even a dinner. Serve it with a side salad. Holy moly. So good to go. Now this is going to go into a preheated 350-degree oven for about 25-35 minutes. It just kind of depends on how much you have layered in there. But what you want to see is this coming up like bubbly and delicious. So this is the one that I had ready. Look at that. That's how it looks. And look at the crust on top of that. Yeah, what do you think I had for breakfast this morning? Well, here comes my second breakfast. And I just heated this up in the microwave a little bit. Oh, I had a fork here. I lost my fork, so just going to heat this up with a spoon. Yummy. I know, you probably can't see that right in your way. Okay. Oh, this is so good. You know what this would be good with? An icy cold Coke. I'm telling you what, this is as good, if not better, than any tomato pie cafe recipe. Oh my gosh, you have the tartness of the tomatoes, you have all those delicious herbs and onions in there, that creamy topping, the crunchiness of the cheese, and the crunchiness of the crust because you took the time to pre-bake the crust. Okay. Look, one more bite from me. So good. Who wants to come over for lunch? Ha! That'd be pretty good. So you have a garden full of tomatoes. You know what to do with them. And this is also, the corn's going to be coming around pretty soon. In Pennsylvania, we have some delicious white corn. So on Wednesday, we're going to be making corn fritters. Won't that be delicious? Now around town on Friday, not exactly sure if we're going to be around town or if we're going to be watching the men put the liner in my pool. I don't know. So that happens on Friday. But in the meantime, share this recipe with your friends. Please share this on Facebook. Please like Old Square Inn's Facebook page. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. It's free and it really helps us out. And remember, you be the light. Something good is going to happen today to you and through you. I will see you on Wednesday. You have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.